I still remember the sound of the wind that night. Cold, mean wind, cutting through my thin nightgown like it wanted to take my soul with it. My name is Eleanor May Johnson, but folks used to call me Ellie. Once upon a time, I had a home, a husband, a kitchen that smelled like cinnamon on Sunday mornings, and a garden that knew the touch of my hands. Now, I tell this story from the corner of a park bench behind St. Mary's Church, because that's where I sleep when the city forgets to care. But before I was homeless, before the world turned its back, I had a man, a husband, and that man was the beginning and the end of everything that went wrong in my life. His name was Robert Johnson. Tall, handsome, the kind of man who made promises like sunlight, bright, warm, and gone by nightfall. I met him in 1978 at a county fair in Ohio. I was 22, working at a pie booth, with my hair tied up in red ribbon. He walked up wearing a leather jacket and that easy grin men wear when they already know their trouble. He said, "Miss, you make pies as sweet as your smile?" I laughed then, not knowing I was laughing my way into a cage. For the first few years, it was good. Real good. We had 2 children, Daniel and Marie, and a small blue house with white shutters on Elm Street. I used to paint the windowsills every spring, and Robert would fix the porch swing. We weren't rich, but we had enough. Or so I thought. He started changing after his job at the mill went under. He drank more. Talked less. When he did talk, it was with words that cut like broken glass. By 1989, I started to realize the man sleeping beside me wasn't the man I married. There were nights he'd come home with perfume on his collar and say I was crazy when I noticed. Then one day I found out he wasn't just cheating, he was cheating with my own sister, Clara. My blood. The girl who shared my crib when we were babies, who held my hand the day Mama was buried. When I first saw them together, it was in my own kitchen. He didn't even hide it. I came home early from church choir, and there they were, her sitting on the counter, his hands where they never should have been. I dropped the Bible I was holding. Clara froze. Robert just looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Maybe if you'd been more of a wife, I wouldn't need to look elsewhere." That's when something inside me broke so quiet it didn't even make a sound. After that, life became survival. He made excuses for her visits, said she was just helping out. I tried to fight it, but every time I spoke up, he'd turn it into my fault, said I was hysterical, that no one would believe me. He started taking my paychecks to manage the bills, then stopped paying them altogether. The house started falling apart, leaks, broken heater, peeling paint, and he didn't care. Then came that night. It was late, maybe past midnight. The kind of dark where even the moon hides behind the clouds. I woke up to the sound of him packing. Not quietly, not ashamed, just shoving things into a bag. When I asked what he was doing, he said, "I'm done, Ellie." "You're done. Get out." I thought he was drunk again, so I laughed a little, thinking he'd cool off. But then he grabbed my wrist and dragged me to the front door. I was in my nightgown, barefoot, hair still in rollers. The floor was cold under my feet. I kept saying, "Robert, it's the middle of the night. I got nowhere to go." But he just opened the door, pointed to the yard, and said, "You should have thought of that before you tried to ruin me and Clara." Then he shoved me, not hard enough to break a bone, but hard enough that I fell onto the porch. The door slammed. The lock turned. And just like that, after 31 years of marriage, I was outside in the dark with nothing but my wedding ring and the ache of everything I'd lost. The night was cruel. The wind felt like a punishment. I walked to the neighbor's house, old Mrs. Dean, but no one answered when I knocked. I sat under the maple tree till morning, shivering, trying to understand how a man could hate the same woman he once vowed to love. When the sun came up, I went back to the door, hoping maybe he'd cooled down, maybe he'd let me in. But there was a note stuck to the door with tape. Just one line. It said, "Don't come back." After that, I walked. Miles and miles till my feet bled. The bus driver at the station wouldn't let me board without shoes, so I picked some from a trash bin behind the gas station. That's how I ended up in the next town, no money, no home, no family. Clara never answered my calls. She married Robert a year later. They sent out Christmas cards with a photo, them smiling in front of my old house. She was wearing my old locket. It's been 12 years since then. I live mostly in shelters, sometimes on the street when they're full. I wash dishes at a diner on Main Street for a few dollars. Folks there call me Grandma Ellie. They don't know my story, they just see an old lady who hums hymns while wiping counters. But sometimes, when a couple walks in holding hands, I feel that old sting in my chest. I'm not bitter anymore. Not really. Maybe just tired. People ask me why I never went to court, why I didn't fight for the house. Truth is, when someone breaks you slow enough, you start believing you deserve the fall. I believed that for years. But last winter, something changed. There was a girl at the diner, young, maybe 19, who came in crying one morning. Said her boyfriend hit her, told her she was nothing. I gave her my coffee and said, "Baby, leave before he makes you forget who you are." She looked at me like she saw something in my face that told her I meant it. A week later, she came back, smiling, said she left him, got a new job, found a small apartment. She hugged me so tight I could smell her shampoo. And right there, in that greasy diner, I realized, maybe God didn't keep me alive to live in anger. Maybe He kept me alive to remind other women what worth feels like. Sometimes I walk past the street where my old house used to stand. It's different now, new paint, trimmed hedges. I don't stop. I just look from across the road and whisper a little prayer. Not for Robert, not for Clara, but for the woman I used to be. The one who thought love meant sacrifice, who thought silence was peace. I've learned something sleeping under bridges, sitting in soup lines, watching the city's lights flicker against cold pavement. People think losing a home means losing your place in the world. But the truth is, you only really lose your home when you stop believing you deserve one. So, yes, I'm homeless. But I'm not lost anymore. My story is ugly in parts, but it's mine. I tell it because somebody somewhere needs to know that even after you've been thrown out into the cold, even after your own blood betrays you, there's still a morning waiting on the other side of night. And when I close my eyes on that park bench behind St. Mary's, I still see it, my little blue house, my garden, the porch swing, and I smile. Because maybe I don't have walls anymore, but I still have my story. And that, my dear, is a home all its own. It was around the third winter after I lost my home that I finally stopped expecting anyone to save me. You get used to the rhythm of being invisible, the way people's eyes slide past you on sidewalks, the way even kindness comes with a quick step and a guilty smile. But that winter was crueler than most. Snow piled up thick on the streets, and the wind bit through every coat I found in the donation bin. I slept most nights in the waiting room of the hospital downtown because it was warm and no one asked too many questions if you looked small and tired. One night, a nurse named Angela left a cup of soup beside me. She didn't say much, just a quiet, "You should eat, ma'am." That soup tasted like mercy. I didn't know then that she'd be the first person in years who would look at me and really see me. Angela started checking on me every night her shift ended. We'd talk, small things at first, weather, music, the price of bread. Then one evening she asked, "Miss Ellie, do you have family?" I told her no, not anymore. My children, Daniel and Marie, hadn't spoken to me since Robert filled their heads with lies before he married Clara. He told them I ran away with another man, left them behind. I didn't even know where they were anymore. Angela squeezed my hand and said softly, "Then I guess you got family now." I cried that night. Quietly, into my coat. Because sometimes the smallest kindness cracks open a heart that's been frozen too long. By spring, Angela helped me get a spot in a small women's shelter run by the church. It wasn't much, 6 bunks in a narrow room that smelled of soap and prayers, but it was safe. For the first time in years, I had a pillow that wasn't made of folded clothes. I started helping out in the kitchen, washing dishes, folding sheets. The pastor's wife called me Miss Ellie, our sunshine, because I'd hum old gospel tunes while I worked. Then, one afternoon, something happened that I still call a miracle. A group of volunteers came by to take photos for a homelessness awareness campaign. I didn't want to be photographed, shame still sat heavy in me, but Angela said, maybe your story can help someone. So I agreed. They took a picture of me sitting by the church steps, wearing that same old coat and smiling the way people smile when they've forgotten how, but try anyway. A few weeks later, the campaign poster was all over the county, bus stops, grocery stores, even on Facebook. I didn't have a phone, but one day the pastor ran in holding a printout and said, Ellie, you won't believe this, someone's been trying to find you. It was Marie, my daughter. Turns out she saw that poster online. She was living 2 states away, working as a nurse, just like Angela. She said the moment she saw the picture, she knew it was me. She'd believed her father's lies all those years, but something in her heart never sat right. She cried when she called the church. I cried too, so hard I could barely talk. I visit St. Mary's once a year now. I bring blankets, sandwiches, and soup for the women sleeping on the same benches I once called home. I sit with them, hold their hands, and tell them, I was here once. But I didn't stay here. And you won't either. They look at me like maybe they don't believe it. But I smile, because I remember when I didn't believe either. I used to think my story was about loss, about betrayal and pain and a house I no longer had. But it's not. It's about survival. About how even when the world throws you out into the cold, you can still find warmth again, maybe not in the place you expect, but in people, in small mercies, in second chances. And when the nights are quiet and the wind brushes the window, I sometimes whisper to the girl I used to be, the one standing barefoot on that porch in the middle of the night, shivering, heartbroken. I tell her, you made it, sweetheart. You made it all the way home. The older I get, the slower time seems to move. It's like the world has learned to walk gently around me. My hands tremble now, and sometimes my mind drifts backward, not to the pain, but to the moments that shaped me. I sit by the window every morning, watching the sun slide up over the hills, and I think, so this is what peace feels like. My doctor says my heart's growing weaker. I can feel it too, that little flutter when I climb the stairs, the tired ache in my bones that no tea can fix. But I'm not afraid. I've been through storms that could have taken my spirit, and this quiet fading, feels like mercy. Marie fusses over me like a mother hen. She calls every hour, cooks soups I can barely taste, and scolds me when I sneak cookies to Ethan before dinner. Sometimes I catch her looking at me with tears she tries to hide. I just smile and say, don't cry, baby. I've had more life than most get in 3 lifetimes. She doesn't know that every night, before I sleep, I whisper a little thank you. Not to any one person, but to life itself, for the way it broke me and still found a way to heal me. For every cold night that led me to warmth. For every betrayal that cleared space for love. A few weeks ago, I asked Ethan to bring me my old notebook. The one where I write my memories. I told him I wanted him to keep it when I'm gone. He frowned and said, but you're not going anywhere, Grandma. I smiled and said, no, sugar. I'm just getting ready for a long nap. He sat beside me while I turned the pages, worn and yellowed, full of messy handwriting and little drawings he'd made years ago. I read him one of my old entries, written back when I first started over. Don't let bitterness be your shelter. It'll keep you warm, but only until it burns you from the inside out. He didn't fully understand, but he nodded like he did. Kids have a way of knowing what hearts mean even when words are too big. The other night, I dreamed of my old house again, that blue house with white shutters. Only this time I wasn't outside in the cold. I was inside, sitting by the fire, humming while a warm light filled every corner. Robert and Clara weren't there, no ghosts, no sorrow, just peace. I woke up smiling. I think maybe that was life's way of saying, you're home now, Ellie. Truly home. Sometimes I wonder what people will remember about me. The woman who lost everything? The homeless old lady behind the church? Or maybe just Grandma Ellie, the one who made too much coffee and too many hugs. But I think, in the end, it doesn't matter. What matters is that I kept loving, even when I had every reason not to. On quiet evenings, when the crickets start singing and the air smells like rain, I sit out on the porch with Marie and Ethan. He likes to hold my hand, small and warm. And he'll ask, "Grandma, do you miss your old life?" And I'll say, "No, baby. I carried what I needed with me, my heart, my hope, my story. The rest I left behind. I know my time's coming soon. But I've made peace with it." I told Marie not to wear black when I go. I said, "Wear yellow, the color of mourning." Because my story doesn't end in night. I want to be buried under a maple tree, if they can find one. Maybe somewhere near St. Mary's, where my second life began. I'd like to think that when the wind moves through those branches, it'll sound like laughter, not sorrow. And if anyone ever asks about me, I hope they say this. She was a woman who lost everything but never lost her faith in tomorrow. Because that's the truth of it. Life will strip you down, break you apart, leave you cold and alone. But if you keep one small flame alive inside you, just one, morning always comes back. So, to whoever finds these words someday, to whoever's standing out there in the dark thinking it's over, it's not. I promise you, it's not. Keep walking. Keep breathing. Keep believing that somewhere, somehow, love will find you again. It might not look like you imagined. It might come in the shape of a stranger's kindness or a child's laugh. But it will come. Because if a woman like me, thrown out in the middle of the night, forgotten by her own blood, can still find her way back to warmth, then so can you. And when that warmth finally reaches you, don't hide it. Pass it on. Hand it out like bread to the hungry. That's how the world heals, one mercy at a time. When my eyes finally close for good, I'll know one thing: I didn't die bitter. I died grateful. And maybe, somewhere beyond this world, there'll be a porch swing waiting, one that creaks just right in the evening breeze. I'll sit there barefoot, coffee in hand, watching the light spill across the yard, whispering to the stars. I'm home.